The New York Knickerbockers, 2025, and the season has arrived.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We've almost been working to this very moment. Knicks have 15 games in the next 30 days, highlighted by a marquee matchup and a revenge spot.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City coming to the Garden Friday. Then it's Milwaukee, Detroit, Philly, Minnesota. But the back end of this is 5 games in a row against the West.
Mm-hmm.
The schedule is really starting to pick up. And it's starting to fester a little bit that, hey, this many games coming up. We don't play that many guys. We're very good starting 5-wise. Give me your thoughts overall about the 15 games in 30 days, how we're going to try to balance that. Because before we hopped on, you mentioned you're a little worried about how top-heavy we are. We're a top-heavy team.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, 15 games in 30 days, first word that comes to mind is trust, because the bench is going to have to be prevalent. I mean, you go 15 and 30, rain, sleet, or snow, home, road, back-to-back, above 500, under 500. You want to trust, ideally, 10 guys. I've seen some bright spots off the bench. I'd like to see a nice Tyler Kolek plug-and-play in this 15 and 30 spurt. I think he, to me, is a guy that would run this Tibbs offense and be almost a Brunson protege in a lot of ways. Also, shout out to the lefties, little lefty synergy. As far as the scheduling, I want to see the beer pong rebuttal Friday night. We saw a lot that we liked in the OKC game through really 3.5 quarters. Not till the very end in Oklahoma City did they pull away. I mean, success against Milwaukee, of course, Detroit, Philly, Minnesota. So a lot of these games, they've already beat them. What I like to see, again, is just this team be able to work, as they call these moments, the dog days, with more than the 5 guys, because this team's preparing for April, May, and June. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Last week, they lost 3 in a row, first time in the season.
Yeah.
But let's really take a look at what happened. They go to OKC. They play the best team in the NBA. They are outplaying them a vast majority of the game. Aaron Wiggins goes ballistic in the fourth quarter. The crowd gets back into it, and they never really they couldn't hang after the crowd got back in. SGA closed the door along with Wiggins.
Which, real quick, we said it on the Juice Bar. If SGA beats you, all right. But if the role players beat you, I guess you take your medicine, right? Because Aaron Wiggins, looking like Andrew Wiggins, ain't dropping, what did he have, 5, 6 threes?
He looked like
ridiculous.
Steph. Clay.
Ridiculous.
He was ridiculous in the fourth.
But that's something that you take, right? Not ideal, but SGA was shut down.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I'm getting at, right? So we outplay the best team in the NBA in their building for a vast majority of the game. They have a massive fourth quarter, probably their best fourth quarter of the year, maybe.
Yeah.
They come back, win the game. Then the next night's a back-to-back. It's Derrick Rose night at the United Center, tons of juice in the building, and
you knew what that was at Chicago Flow on Twitter.
Yes, and they looked a little tired towards the end of that game, playing a super high-paced spot against the Chicago Bulls, who all they want to do is get up and down. They looked a little tired. Cat came out and said after the game, hey, if I'm being honest, I was a little tired towards the end of that game. Then Orlando comes to town, and no Cat. So we lose to the best team in the NBA after outplaying them a vast majority of the game. Then lose a game on a back-to-back, which is a tough scheduling spot in the NBA. And then you're missing your one of your 1 or 1A player in Cat against the Magic. Still should get the W, but a little context is prevalent there.
Yeah, do you think no Cat, and then on the Orlando side, obviously Banchero and Franz have been out, but no Suggs, who's kind of their Josh Hart, if you're going to give a comp, he's down. That was an 11.5-point favorite line that closed. We're obviously on FanDuel Inside the Lines. Do you feel like that, I guess, if you're going NFL with it, backups galore, maybe you're going against a backup quarterback, you just kind of overlooked the team, even though Knicks were 3-0 against the spread against this team? I don't know if they
overlooked them, but Orlando knocked down shots late. It was a 6-point game in the fourth quarter. Cole Anthony hit a couple threes. Wendell Carter hit a couple threes. And then it was like we just couldn't get it go. And to be honest, Brunson struggled. Offensively, they were throwing doubles at him. It was a tough go for him. So if no Cat and then Brunson's going to struggle offensively, and that's still a really good team on the defensive side in Orlando.
Is there anything you want to see in those? Let's just take the whole game, but talk when Cat's off the floor, moving forward, especially in this stretch. Anything you liked or want to see improve when Cat's not on the floor that this Knicks team can really figure out?
I mean, you need your guys. We opened the segment talking about how top-heavy the Knicks are. and then you're missing your biggest block on the building, right? So,
well, I guess last year Brunson, and again, he was doubled. He was getting absolutely, everything thrown at him in that Magic game. But that's where I guess, would you want to see Brunson go for 40 with his eyes closed in that spot, as opposed to where he's, his dimes are up this year. He's looking to really do an excellent job facilitating. But on non-cat nights, do we need
as you know,
Brunson?
I was watching Brunson closely. And offensively, he just didn't have it. He had off night offensively, and it's going to be tough for the Knicks to overcome Cat being out and Brunson having an off night. Let's take a look at these next 5.
Yeah.
OKC in the Garden, Milwaukee in the Garden, Detroit in the Garden. Detroit's won 8 games in a row, by the way, as we record this. They've been playing really well. I mentioned it coming into the year. I just want the Knicks to stamp that identity instead of night to night it being something different and kind of letting the flow of the game dictate their identity. The Orlando Magic, I don't think they've scored more than 105 points the last 6 games.
So they know who they are.
We know their identity, right? Like, they're going to come in and play really hard-nosed defense, hopefully get a couple good looks and knock them down, and then just try to wear you down defensively. There's some nights the Knicks hold teams to under 100, right around 100, or they score 130. It just depends on the night and the game flow. I would love to have them establish that over this 15 games. And
do you think an identity can be established?
Yeah, of course.
In this stretch?
Of course.
Do you feel like this team, I guess, obviously, they've played all these teams very well. Of course, want to get that rebuttal win Friday against OKC, but 25-12 off a loss last year. This year, they're 9-3. You mentioned it, first 3-game losing streak. This team typically shows up if they get knocked down the night before. Is there anything, I guess, narrative-wise that we could sit here and get behind on this stretch about this team? Could be offensively, could be defensively. Because I'm kind of looking for something synergy-wise to click on this run.
Well, yes, of course. And you just want to see them be consistent. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before the 3 losses, what were we doing?
9-game win streak.
Okay. Yeah. So, like, they were playing really good ball, and they were playing together, and the synergy was there. I put the context on the 3-game losing streak. Let's see how they look coming out of that with all their guys on the floor and not playing back-to-backs, even though they're going to have a lot of games on one-day rest. But most of these games are at home. So,
if I were to ask you a pressing question of would you rather come out of this 15 games and 30 nights with a more established bench or more dubs, what would you take?
Wow, that's a great question. More dubs always.
Because I guess working backwards, we're in this identity. We're not in an identity crisis at all. This team's
Very
arguably
good.
the best top 5 or best starting 5 production-wise in the NBA. The thing that these deeper teams, OKC, Boston have, is trust off the bench.
Number 1 player in the NBA in minutes played is Mikal Bridges. Number 2 is Josh Hart. So, yes, I would love to get those guys some rest as we go, towards the end of the year. Because this is about the playoffs, right? Like, we're in a stretch. This is the thing about
That's what I was going to ask
NBA. We care, but we don't care what happens in the regular season. The regular season is about getting settled and ready and knowing how you want to play ball come May, come April, right? So,
but this is the tough thing. It's fickle, really, because you got Boston. Let's take Boston and Denver, 2 teams that have won the last 2 years. They don't need to take the regular season as serious as maybe an Oklahoma City. I guess you can throw the Knicks in there. The thing that the Knicks proved last year to themselves is that they're not only in the tournament, they're the cream of the crop in the East. Having said that, reshuffling the deck with new pieces because they're figuring out who they are this year. Is there just a huge sense of urgency to get the 1 seed? Because I guess working backwards, the way to beat Boston is come to our Garden, not go to the junior Garden 4 times versus 3. Do it the other way. And so making it an emphasis on night in, night out, we got to win every game so that we can ink the 1 seed, so that as we figure out our identity, we at least have home court.
Yeah. It's hard to know what Tibbs is thinking and if he feels like he must have the 1 seed, right? Like, I'm not sure if...
I'm only asking you because you've been, ironically, you're from Chicago. Yeah. You were with Tibbs. You and Tibbs came together.
Yeah.
Separate contracts, but came together.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, it's... it's hard to know what like his deep down motivation, and I think overall he just wants to win as many games as possible if the 1 seed ends up happening and go about it the right way. That's what's beautiful about I think what's happening here with the Knicks and how Tibbs is running things and how Rose is putting things together is that they're going about things the right way. If you go back to last year at the end of the year, it was like win 50 games and lock up that seed, or we can have a really good shot to get some rest and potentially not change too much of the seeding. They went out, busted heads, won the games so they could close out the season right. Some people think it may have cost them.
Yeah.
Some may not. But we're running things the right way. Tibbs is leading the guys, and it's just about hopefully staying healthy throughout. And if we can get there. I know the worry, though.
Yeah.
I get the worry. The bodies kind of ran out towards the end of the year last year. I mean, frankly, they did run out. OG got hurt. Brunson got hurt at the very last moment. So hopefully they can stay healthy and get rolling. One of the questions here, we'll close here. Is it time we want to see guys like Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby take on more offense and relieve a little pressure from Cat and Jalen Brunson? What do you think?
Bridges, I think, has been, in the last month, in excellent form. I mean, I know he's been in a couple of my SGPs, clearing 20-plus, I think, 3 of the last 5 games, 15-plus, 9 of the last 10. So I like him as a really good fit in this offense. I think he's the 3. I mean, as far as offensive night in, night out production, you got to trust him more than you do in OG. OG's an interesting fellow offensively because sometimes he's stroking from 3. Sometimes, like you've noticed and observed, he just dunks. I want to see a little more of that. I almost want to see OG establish himself as almost like a 4. Remember like Chuck Hayes back in the day, like one of the shorter for the 4, but just, ain't nobody want to bang bodies inside the paint with him. But to put a button on just themes, because I do think on that 9-game win streak, the Knicks either out-rebounded their opponents or won the turnover battle. You look at them, they've been top 3 in assist-to-turnover ratio the whole month of December. So I'm looking, I guess, theme-wise on these wins, out-rebounding teams, protecting the rock. It's kind of almost NFL with it. Like methodical drives, don't turn the rock over, play fundamental. You'll put more W's than L's. And so I think that, at least theme-wise, is something I've picked up. Crash the boards, protect the rock.
I think Mikal has stepped up his game offensively.
Yeah.
If you watch the Magic game, he was the only guy outside of Brunson that could get his own shot by himself.
I think team high against Oklahoma City, too.
Yeah, so Mikal Bridges offensively has stepped it up. OG is the 4th guy offensively. He's the 4th look.
Yeah.
So some nights, if he could pour it in and add 18, 19, hit that 20-point mark, that'd be great. But he's more of a intangibles, defense first. Oh, OG's open for a corner 3 guy instead of like, I'm going to force the rock and force him to go do something offensively, because that's not really his game. And you never want to put guys in a position where they don't feel comfortable, and I think OG would feel comfortable if you were just feeding him offensively all the time.
I had my Cal stat for you here. The Knicks are 9-2 when he scores more than 20 points. The 2 losses are the Magic and the Thunder game recently. So.
There you go.
15-30 got a record for me.
15-0.
Yeah. I'm going 12-3. 12-3.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to put out a record. It's going to be a tough stretch.
Yeah.
But they're going to compete just like they always do. And I think it's a very, very big positive for them that a lot of these games are at the Garden.
I'm with you.